Hello, I'm Eskay. I'm a previous pro Overwatch player, and I just recently hit Eternity, which is number 70 on the global leaderboard, playing mostly just Psylocke. My goal with this guide is for you to never want to watch another video on how to play Psylocke again. I've written 10 pages on every possible thing you could want to know about this hero. Psylocke doesn't have any character-specific settings, so let's talk about sensitivity. There is no perfect sense that is a one-size-fits-all for everyone. It's more about finding one that fits you. I'm on 800 DPI 2.6, which is pretty high. What I recommend is to go up to a wall and strafe back and forth while trying to hold your mouse in the exact same spot on the wall. If you have trouble, then your sense is probably too high or too low. Try adjusting it until you find one that you would feel comfortable doing this motion with. Even if it's not perfect, as long as you feel more comfortable doing it, then that's good. One important thing about Psylocke though is that your sensitivity is not too low for you to 180 and aim accurately. If it's so low that when you 180 your hand is in a weird spot, or you're on the edge of your mouse pad and you can't really aim anymore, then you're gonna have to raise it. At least just for this hero. But it should also not be too high that you can't aim accurately if someone is far away or if you're aiming at a very small target. My biggest problem when I was new to games is that my sensitivity was just way too high. So try out a lower one and see if you like it. As for aim, I hate to say it, but it is a thing that comes with time. If you're really invested, you can try out a game like Aim Labs or Kovacs FPS Aim Trainer and commit to it for 15 minutes to maybe an hour maximum per day. I do recommend Voltaic if you're looking for aim routines to try. If it's helping you a lot and you're enjoying it, then stick with it. But if it doesn't help you or you're not enjoying it, then it's no big deal. You can get really good aim just by playing the game. Myself and many Overwatch pros or Marvel Rivals pros now never aim train nowadays, and our aim purely comes from thousands of hours of playing the game. But one piece of advice I want to throw out there is that if you can't aim, then don't feel like you're forced to play heroes that you don't have to aim on. If you play a hero that you never have to aim on because you can't aim, well, how are you ever going to learn how to aim? You might be worse at the game for a small period of time, but you will eventually become better. Now let's talk about abilities. And I know you've probably seen a million guides about the abilities, but I'm going to go into so much more depth here than any others, so I promise you there is a nugget of information that you don't have. First is the left click or right trigger if you're on controller. It's a shotgun spread with 4 pellets, and you should aim at the middle of people in order to hit the most amount of pellets. Your invis, dash, and shuriken cooldowns are all reduced by 0.25 seconds per pellet that you hit, so 1 second per shot and 2 seconds per burst. This is extremely important. It means that if you hit every pellet in your shots, you'll get your dash and right click back every 4 bursts, which is insane. The damage falloff for your primary fire starts at 15 meters, capping out at 60% at 30 meters. As a general rule, whenever you're invisible, you should reload your primary fire, and if you're going to engage on someone, you should reload before that as well, unless you'll miss the opportunity if you reload at that exact moment. Now, your shurikens, which is right click or your left trigger. It's on an 8-second cooldown and it shoots 5 rounds. The damage and shields that you gain from hitting this ability scales based on the amount of rounds that you hit, so you want to aim center mass in order to hit as many as possible. It also can't headshot, so even more reason to aim center mass. This is the most important ability to hit in a fight or combo. You have to hit this button. It does 40 damage when you hit the ability and 110 when you pull it out of them. You'll press the button once to stick it inside of someone and then press it again to pull it out of them. When you pull out, they'll come from where you're pointing your crosshair, not where you threw them originally. So you can miss putting it in, but pull it out in the spot where they are and they'll get hit. Also, by default, you'll get 300 shield if you land the ability, but if you pull it out of 2 people at once, then you get 325 HP. It's kind of insane. Now, a question I get quite often is when should you pull out? And that depends. Most of the time, you should instantly pull out, but I don't know how to explain it. Basically, if you stick it in someone and that damage gets instantly healed, then if you pull it out, that damage is going to get instantly healed too. So instead of pulling it out, you should save it so that you can do a bunch of damage with the pull out and get a bigger burst, meaning you'll have a higher chance to kill them through the healing. Also, dashing automatically activates the recall for your right click where the crosshair is. So when you're doing combos, for example, with the right click, just pressing shift instead of pressing right click again will work. Because of your passive that reduces cooldowns, you'll have this button very frequently, so don't be afraid to use it if you see an opportunity. Also, damage fall off for this button starts at 15 meters and decreases to 80% at 25 meters, which is the maximum distance that you can hit the ability. You almost always want to be pressing this button within and much less than 15 meters. 15 meters is pretty much the max range. Sometimes it's worth dashing just to be closer so that your right click does more damage. Speaking of dash, let's talk about it. Dash, which is your shift or your left button, it says LB. It's your most important and versatile cooldown. It does 50 damage, it's on an 8-second cooldown, and it has 2 charges. It's also omnidirectional, meaning you can dash in any direction, but it does go to where your crosshair is facing. So you can't hold A and press shift and dash sideways, you have to look to the right in order to do that. Also, your dash has a very specific range, so if you dash so that you're directly behind someone, you can quick melee them by pressing V or pushing down the right button, like the thumbsticky thingy. And that'll do a little bit of extra damage, and it is like cancels with your dash. It's really cool, okay? You should try it. Also, you can dash at the floor and do the same thing if they're not at the perfect distance. I use dashes very frequently just to position myself, knowing that I'll get another one before I'm in danger and I'll need it. Sometimes when I'm just doing team damage and I'm not really looking for an assassination, if the entire enemy team is stacked up, I'll just double dash through them to farm a lot of ult charge or just get a lot of damage on all the other team. Other than that, I pretty much only use dash for damage if I'm going for a one-shot combo, if I believe it will finish them off, or to get closer to somebody to try and hit them with my left click and right click. Using my dash to get closer, I actually do quite often, especially against flyers like Iron Man. Now let's talk invisibility, your E or your RB. It makes you completely invisible, but the enemy can still hear your footsteps. You get a move speed boost in it, but no jump boost. It's also on a 15-second cooldown, which is very long. You can definitely use this ability to engage, and to be honest, you should a lot of the time, but it's very dependent on where your team is or how close dashing to safety will be. Because if you use invis to engage and you use one dash for your combo, you only have one more dash to escape. A lot of the time, I'll try and get in without invis, do my combo, and then I'll dash and invis away because it lets me get away a lot more consistently than just one dash. I will also use it very frequently to get on flanks without the enemy team seeing me, but if I use it to do that, I will farm up another invis by left clicking them before I actually engage. Sometimes I'll use invis while I'm fighting someone just to reload or extend the time that I'm able to stay in and fight them for. Also, when you get shot while you're invis, you become exposed for half a second but then go invisible again. The better the enemies get, the better they're going to be at shooting you through your invis, so you have to get very creative with it. Whenever you use invis and you're trying to escape with it, or you just, well, I mean, if you use invis, you don't want to get shot. Whenever you use invis and they're looking at you, then you need to start moving in unorthodox ways. Maybe you'll stand still for a second, maybe you strafe one way, pop it, and then strafe the other way. If there's a health pack close by, you shouldn't straight line to the health pack even though you're invisible. Maybe you stand still for a second or strafe in a weird way and then go towards the health pack. Basically, you should move in a direction that isn't easily predictable. I almost always combine invis on my escape with a dash. So I'll dash somewhere and then I'll invis. Sometimes that means dashing straight up, sometimes that means just dashing away. If you dash straight up and then pop invis, it's much harder for them to track than if you just popped invis alone. Now let's talk ultimate. There's a lot to this ability even though it's relatively straightforward. When you ult, there's a second or so where you're vulnerable and can be killed or stunned, but after that second you become invulnerable. During the 4 seconds that your ult lasts, if any enemy is standing inside, you will slash them every half second or so and do 150 damage. If there are multiple enemies standing inside your ult will prioritize whoever has been slashed the least. So if there's 2 enemies, it will slash one first, slash the other, then slash the first one, then slash the other. If somebody new steps into the ult during that happening, it will slash the new person. instead of the people it's already been slashing. This means that the more people are inside of your ult, the less damage per second you're actually doing to each person, and the more easily counterable it is. Generally, I've seen that 3 squishies is about the maximum amount of people that you can kill with your ult, or 1 tank and 1 squishy, or 2 tanks. It just depends on how much healing they're getting. Now, when you finish the ult, there is a second or so where you're doing the animation of putting the sword away and you can be killed. So once you believe you've gotten all the value you can get out of your ultimate, you should start moving towards safety. You can strafe as your ult is ending and then jump to make yourself a little bit harder to hit when you get out of it while you still can't dash. Also, there's a bug where if you end your ult on a health pack, you will not be able to pick it up. So you should end your ult right next to it and then step on the health pack. Also, the slashes apply at 30% slow to enemies that it hits. That is, honestly, I didn't even really know that until like a couple hours ago. Yeah, awesome! In order to use your ult optimally, very often you will have to use abilities to engage and get into position to do that. But it's very important that you save abilities for when the ult ends, because if you end and you're inside their team and you have no abilities, well, you're just going to die. Most of the time, I'll try to engage with just my invisibility or just 1 dash, and save either 2 dashes or a dash and an invis in order to get out once the ult is over. Now, the better your opponents get, the worse this ult becomes, and by worse I mean like really, really bad. It's it gets really bad. If you're pressing it and it's just like an insta win button and the enemies aren't doing anything about it, then by all means keep doing that. But the tips I'm about to give are for when they start to adapt. First of all, support ults. Mantis and Luna Snow can completely counter your ultimate just by pressing Q, and it'll be useless. Now, if a Mantis is completely alone inside of your ult, you can actually kill her through it, but if there's another person, they will survive. However, it actually is a good trade to use your ult and force their ults out. So, if you pop Psylocke ult and they pop one of those, it's no worries. But you do have options for getting around this and killing people even if they have those ults. If there is somebody who is split away from their team and not close enough to have those ults in time before they die, then solo ulting them can be very worth it. If you're fighting someone on flank and you think you're going to lose the fight, or you just don't even want to risk it, then you can solo ult them, provided that they can't dash out of it. Another option you have is to try and do your combo on the Mantis or the Luna Snow or the Cloak and Dagger and force them to use their ultimate in order to stay alive, and then you can use yours after it's over. Once you start playing against really, really good supports, they will start to counter your ult with just abilities. Adam Warlock Shift can full counter your ult. 2 Adam Warlock E's can full counter your ult. Luna Snow and Mantis can stun you out of your ult. Loki's clones can full counter your ult. 1 Loki Shift can full counter your ult. Basically, all of these cooldowns have to be kept in mind or forced out if you want to use your ult and get kills. Now, the timing of your ult also becomes especially important. If you use your ult in a time where the enemy isn't worried about anything else and they can all turn around and support each other, then you're not going to get any kills and you're probably just going to die after. You should look to use your ult when there's chaos. Use it in the middle of a team fight when they have so many other things to worry about that your ult is just like a jump scare and they'll die. Against Luna Snow and Mantis or Penny Parker, anyone that can stun you out of your ult, you should dash up before pressing ult so that you're falling while you're going through the animation and they can't as easily stun you out of it. Once you start climbing, you need to lower your standards for how big your ults are going to be. If you force a support ult, it's worth it. If you get 1 kill, it's worth it. If there are 2 tanks in your ult and they are not getting healing at all, you can kill them. But if one of them is even getting a little bit of healing, they will not die. Also, your ult can hit people in the air. It's about 10 meters, not super high, it's not infinite, but it can hit people in the air, so keep that in mind. Also, Rocket Raccoon can just dash out of your ult, as can Psylocke. So for heroes like this, you do have the option to combo them first to get them below 150 HP so that they'll die in 1 hit to the ult and don't have time to react and dash out of it. Now, let's talk about the team up. If you have a magic on your team, you unlock a new ability by pressing C or Y. By pressing this ability, you recall yourself to where you were 5 seconds ago, and you get bonus HP depending on how low you are. The lower you are, the more bonus HP you'll get. It's on a 30-second cooldown, so you do get to use it pretty often, but it doesn't get reduced by your passive. The problem with this button, compared to like a Tracer recall from Overwatch, is that there's a bit of a delay when you press it. The invulnerability is not instant. Because of this, you should not wait until you're 1 HP, and you should not try and react dodge things. Rather, you should predict instead. I also never use it as an escape tool because of the startup animation. Instead, I'll use it mid-fight to extend the amount of time that I can stay in, and then dash and invis out. Now, let's talk about combos. First of all, your default combo when you aren't in range to dash, or it's too risky to dash, or you just don't want to for some reason, is to left click, let both bursts go out, right click, don't recall, then left click, let both bursts go out, and then recall your right click. It's enough to kill even a 275 HP hero, provided you hit every single pellet and they don't get any healing, which is very rare. Basically, you use this combo to do poke damage to the other team. Now, your second bread and butter combo is the assassination combo. You left click, let both bursts come out, then right click dash. It's enough to kill 250 HP, but not 275 HP, so you have to get a little creative for those heroes. The heroes that do have 275 HP are Hela, Luna, Mantis, Namor, Punisher, and Squirrel Girl. Any other squishy you can insta-kill with this combo. Except like Wolverine, I don't know if he counts. And now, if you want to kill a 275 HP hero, you have a lot of options and they're all optimal in different situations, so I will go over those with you right now. If they're 250 HP, just do your bread and butter combo every single time. You can 180 after your dash and left click them again if they aren't dead, or you can use your dash in a way that allows you to quick melee them right after. If they're 275 HP and they're within melee range, you should do this melee cancel combo, where you left click, let both bursts come out, melee, then cancel that with your right click and dash through them. Now, at the end of every single one of these combos, you should always be 180ing and looking to do some more damage just in case they got healed, or you mess it up and they have 1 HP left. If they're 275 HP and they're not melee range, but their hitbox is big enough that you can stick all of your pellets into their face, you should do the bread and butter combo but with headshots. So left click, let both bursts come out, right click, dash. In my opinion, the only heroes that have hitboxes big enough to do this are Namor and Hela. And even then, it's inconsistent. So make sure you follow up with a melee or a left click. If they're 275 HP and you're not melee range and their hitbox is not big enough to hit all pellets into their head, you should do an extra left click burst before doing your right click. So left click, let both bursts come out, left click, let one burst come out, then right click dash. You also have the option to double dash 275 HP characters, but this is very situational because it leaves you with only your E to escape. It's an all-in desperation move and should be reserved for 1v1s where you know that this will kill them. Now let's finally talk playstyle. Basically, you want to be a mosquito. It's very rare that you're ever just standing in your front line with your tanks. You should always be searching for an off angle or a flank angle where you can be shooting them in the back or in the side. The key to finding these angles is making sure that they're safe. Maybe it's on a high ground, or maybe it's somewhere where you're third person angle abusing, or you're third person peek abusing, and if you take damage, that you can go to a health pack nearby or get healing from your supports. Luckily, the Marvel Rivals maps are made in such a way that it's very easy to find flanks, and most flanks have health packs on them. Of course, you should be using your cooldowns to secure these off angles, such as your dashes or your E's, but make sure you don't use all of them unless you know that you'll be safe. Now, while you're doing this flank or off angle poking, you should always be ready for an opportunity to assassinate someone with your combo. Once you have your cooldowns and you see that opportunity, go for it. Usually after you go for this opportunity, whether you got the kill or not, you should dash back to your team. So save one dash and one invis, and then go for your combo and escape back to your team. After you escape back to your team, you can poke at them, farm your abilities up, go on the flank, farm your abilities up, and look for an assassination combo again. Sometimes, when you go for the assassination, you can use all of your abilities and then ult them for the kill and go back to your team during the ult, knowing that you have no more cooldowns to escape. Now, when you do go for your combo, you must, well, not must, but you really, really should, in 99% of situations, be within 15 meters for max damage. In most cases, you actually want to be point blank because it makes it easier to hit your abilities and guarantee that you actually get the combo off. I'm recording this while editing, but you can use Invis to do this, provided that you know you can get back to your team or get back to safety with both of your dashes. Sometimes I'll go Invis, stand right behind an opponent while looking at my team, then I'll do the bread and butter combo and use the dash that I'm using for damage also to get halfway back to my team, and then use the second dash to get all the way. The key to this though is to not use your abilities to get this close. You want to save a dash for your combo, and you also want to save a dash to get out. Which leads to, well, the most important part of Psylocke in my opinion, which is managing your dashes. How many dashes should you use to kill? How many do you need to escape? Can you get away with just your invis? Is it worth popping both dashes to secure a kill and dying right after? Sometimes it's actually worth trading with an opponent, but sometimes it's not. If you're running out of spawn, the fastest way to get back to point is to dash, then pop invis. I do this almost every single time I respawn, but if I know an enemy is close enough to spawn and might try to spawn camp me, I will save one dash. It is your job to deal with high ground and with flankers. If a Hela is on high ground, you must contest to get her off of it. Sometimes this is impossible without help from your team, and that's okay. Now, if you do contest the Hela and you manage to get her to bird away and she doesn't die, that's okay. You've done your job, now you can focus on something else. Black Panthers, Psylocks, and Iron Fists, anyone that wants to flank, you have to make it hard for them or just straight up kill them. Think about where they might flank from and poke them enough that they can't do it. You don't necessarily have to kill them, you just have to do enough damage to make them go search for a health pack or go back to their team and get healing from their supports. Of course, you can kill them if you see the opportunity, but make sure you do not overcommit. Sometimes your plan will change from flanking and assassinating to just shooting the tanks in the face and farming ult as fast as possible. Now, the situations where this would become your plan is if you're close to your ult and the enemy team just used Luna Snow or Mantis ult, and you know they don't have either of those. Or Cloak and Dagger, also Cloak and Dagger can full counter your ult. But yeah, maybe you're like 70%, you know they don't have Luna Snow or Mantis ult, but they'll get it soon, then you should try and farm your ult as fast as possible in order to get it off before they get those ults. Now, if it's a 1 minute overtime and you're both starting at 0%, you will never, and I mean never, beat Luna Snow to her ult. So do not make your 1 minute overtime plan farming ult as fast as possible. Instead, you should look for assassinations or getting their flankers off or getting their Helas off high ground. Oftentimes, with a Hawkeye or Hela, you don't even need to kill them, just making them think about you in the backline and constantly having to look at you or spam shots at you takes a lot of pressure away from your front line and allows them to do more. Just because you aren't killing anyone doesn't mean you're not having impact. A lot of things I'm saying are purely game sense things that you'll learn over time. I can't list the exact situations where every one of these is preferable to the other. There's just too many, and even I don't know the optimal thing for every single one of them. I will say though, you will not learn all of these things if you focus on your teammates' mistakes rather than your own. It's easy to look at the scoreboard constantly and blame a teammate who has bad stats, but some of the time it's not even their fault. Maybe your supports are dying every single fight. Okay, easy to say they suck and you're losing because of them, but maybe they wouldn't be dying every single fight if you got their Hela who is just free sniping them off of high ground, or if you stopped their Black Panther from diving them for free with all of his cooldowns. The scoreboard doesn't tell you everything, and sometimes what you see are not the problem, rather the result of the problem. Although sometimes your teammates just do suck, and that's okay. Learning where every health pack is important. Most of the time when you're flanking, you will rely on those instead of your supports. You don't have to run around the map and look at every health pack though, you'll just figure out where they are with time. Basically, you should think of Psylocke as min-maxing the amount of time that you can be sitting there on their flank or an off angle just shooting them in the back and being ready to assassinate someone. You're pretty much limit testing all the time. How much can you get away with without dying? Let's talk about third person. Holding off angles and strafe peeking, which is shooting then unpeeking while you can't shoot and then re-peeking to shoot, is very important and should be how you are poking them by default. Basically, you should be standing on the left and right peeking as often as possible. Your entire playstyle, where you position, everything should change in order to gain this advantage. Seeing when enemies stop looking in your direction so you can go invis and run through without getting shot is one advantage, but also seeing when they stop looking in your direction just so you can poke at them and make them look at you again is broken, to be honest. You can also abuse this with high ground, so standing behind cover and looking over it, and then going forward along with strafing, shooting, and then stepping back behind cover. If you are hiding somewhere and someone is W keying at you and you can see them with the third person, it is so easy to get your free insta-kill combo on them before they can react. In 1v1s, it is all about getting the third person angle on them. You should never ever push the other person if they have that angle on you. Rather, you should maneuver in order to find the advantage for yourself. You can even abuse this third person peeking from the right and looking left, but it's not as good. Now, some small movement tips. Jumping around a corner can mess up somebody's aim a little bit. Most people will keep their crosshairs head level, but jumping around it makes them have to flick up. It's important though that they cannot see you when you start jumping. If they can see you when you start jumping, you move in a very predictable arc, allowing them to hit you easier. This is the biggest mistake I see in Overwatch and in Marvel Rivals as well. People in the beginner ranks are just jumping all the time and it makes them very easy to hit. Don't jump unless they can't see you when you start your jump. You should also constantly be strafing as long as you're in danger. If you stand still when the other team can see you, that is very bad. When you strafe, be sporadic rather than doing one predictable A, D, A, D, A, D. You can press A for a shorter amount of time than press D, just mix it up. Now let's talk about maps. In my opinion, Psylocke is good and playable on every single map, but there are some where she is weaker and some where she is especially strong. Also keep in mind that there are many flanks that are made possible by destroying walls. You can press B in order to see what walls can be destroyed. I think every map is great for Psylocke with the exception of Yug'sgard Royal Palace. The one with the open garden and the one with the big open space in the middle with like jump pads on both sides. Those are not so good for Psylocke, but still very playable. Okay, let's talk about very character-specific things. I'll give you a tip for pretty much every hero in the game. Punisher is an amazing target when he's ulted. You should not be scared of him. If he's not paying attention and you're close enough within your 15-meter range and their supports aren't currently at that exact second dumping heals into him, you can insta-kill him with your combo because his hitbox becomes so large. When the enemy team is Luna Snow ulting, you can't kill anything. You should spam headshots into their tank in order to farm as much ult as possible. The Marvel Rivals website has information on all of the heroes. I'm talking abilities, numbers, move speed, every detail you could possibly want to know about a hero's ability is on their website. When you're fighting Black Panther, his entire kit revolves around his dash reset. If you dash up and manage to dodge one of his javelins, or manage to dodge his dash, he is a free kill and can't do anything to you anymore. When you're fighting Iron Man, you can dash into the sky and insta-kill him with your combo if you get within 15 meters range. You can also constantly be poking him out because he's a flying hero. Flying heroes get less healing from their supports because their supports usually aren't looking at them, so doing enough damage to make him sit behind cover and wait for healing is a lot of value, even if you don't kill him. I use dash to dodge Mantis Sleep and Luna Snow Freeze. Mantis will very often throw the sleep at her feet when you get close to her, so I'll dash up into the sky in order to make it miss. The sleep is kind of broken, so even if you're dashing through them and it doesn't seem like you get hit by it, you'll still get hit, so dashing up is like the only way. Penny Parker is free damage to shoot into, and you're one of the characters that are able to break her thing by flanking. But you do need to be careful of her stun, just like Luna Snow and Mantis. Loki clones and Loki shift can full counter your ult, but if he goes invisible, you can just dash through and expose him. Pay attention to the animation when he swaps clones. If he actually does swap clones, then you can't dash through him, but if he does go invis instead, just dash and you'll kill him. He's an easier support to kill because of his large hitbox, but his clones are really annoying and difficult for you to break, unless you're very close. Adam Warlock can insta-kill you with his right click, so be careful of when he's full charged it. You also have to make sure you insta-kill him with your combo, because if he presses shift or E's, he instantly heals himself to full. Against characters with small hitboxes, it's more optimal to be closer to them in order to do the maximum amount of damage with your shotgun pellets. This isn't as necessary against large characters. For example, Adam, Loki, you can be quite far, and tanks you can be even farther. In general, I almost never go for headshots unless it's a tank or I'm literally inside of their character. It's very dangerous to get get up in some characters' faces unless an ability has been forced, such as Mantis or Luna Sleep. Coordinating dives with your teammates or having a duo that calls out when things are low or when to focus fire can get you a lot of value. Venom, Thor, and Hulk are big, juicy, walking ult blobs. If you stay out of their melee range, they can't hit you, and you can just farm headshots and right-click damage off of them. Groot and Penny are like this as well, but they can fight back. Strange and Magneto have shields, and your ult doesn't target Magneto's shield, so you need to force that cooldown before you ult against a team with a Magneto. Sometimes when a Doctor Strange does the silly spawn kill portal on my team, I'll dash through it and get a free flank on the other team that they aren't expecting. Namor is a hero that pretty much counters you because his turret's aimbot and you can't break them easily. He can also E out of anything you do, but he does have a large hitbox and he is insta-killable, so don't give up. Hawkeye is large enough to kill close range, but he can one-shot you. He isn't that threatening to you specifically, but he's a huge threat to your team. So marking him and being as annoying as possible, constantly forcing him to turn around and shoot at you, is extremely important. The Moon Knights these days are usually very predictable with their Ankh. Usually you can peek them, unpeek, and then stare at a wall behind you and he'll throw his Ankh there and you can break it. When he doesn't have his Ankh, he's almost always a free kill because of how large his hitbox is and how low his health is. If he does manage to land an Ankh on you, your reaction should be to dash away, not to break it. If you try and break it, you'll die before you break it. You should dash away from magic. She can't hit you and you can free fire into her. Just be careful of her dash. If you time your dash with her dash and don't dash through her, rather dash away to the side, then she really can't do anything. Captain America is a hero in this game. Just shoot him in the face. If you flank a Punisher who's on his turret, you can combo kill him, and very often you can double dash combo him if you want to. He's usually in a spot where you'll survive even without a dash, as long as you have invis to escape and you catch him off guard. Cloak and Dagger are annoying and rarely killable in Dagger form unless you're up close and she doesn't have her healing ball. Although Cloak has a big hitbox, so it's good to attack when they go Cloak because it's much easier to hit them. Iron Fist is a free kill. Just dash away from him. Sometimes you might have to double dash because he can dash himself, but that's it. Overall, the hero is pretty useless. If he's bothering you, just dash into your team and he'll fall right over. Wolverine is also useless outside of his shift. If he doesn't catch you with it, just keep dashing away from his right-click dash and shooting him in the face. Even if you don't manage to kill him, forcing his passive is great because it's on a 90-second cooldown. You are actually a very good hero for killing Spider-Man, but it does require great aim. You should save your right click for when he goes in on you because when you get uppercut, he's stuck in an easy to hit animation. If you get hit by his sticky and he has his E, be careful because that's his big combo. You can dash behind a wall to mess it up, but if you dash when he's Eing to you, you'll still get hit by it, unless you go behind a wall. You can also dash through him when he goes for his combo because it forces him to 180 and he can't get any follow-up damage on you. His one-shot combo requires him to have Venom, but if you dash through him, you can't get hit by the Venom thing, so you can't be one-shot. Ella's E can stun you out of your ult, which is total BS. Anyway, if she doesn't have Bird, she's vulnerable, but sometimes you can surprise combo insta-kill her before she can even react in Bird. You need to be very careful about how you engage this hero and about how you escape from her. Watch out for her E. If it hits you, you'll probably instantly die, and she can 2 or 3 tap you if you attack her in a way that she can see you while you're on your way. Most of the time, you can't actually kill this hero, but that's okay. If you force her Bird or force her to ult, then you've gotten your value. Don't overcommit and die. Although trading is okay with this hero if she is the server admin. Be careful with Star-Lord. His dash makes him invulnerable for 0.3 seconds and his E can kill you through invis within range. In order to fight him, you must make sure you hit your E at a time when he is not dashing. They usually time their dashes for when they run out of ammo in their clip. So if you shoot your E when he's halfway through a clip, you'll probably hit him. Also, Star-Lord's ult can insta-kill you, but if he's not looking at you, you can insta-kill him by dashing up into the air. Don't be afraid. Winter Soldier is a nice target to shoot, but you need to watch out for his hook. Also, if you dash through his dash will hit you and uppercut you. If he hits you with his ult, you should just dash away. Don't look to fight him, because if he kills you, he'll get resets and ult the rest of your team. Black Widow is a character in the game. You just go kill her. What is she gonna do? You are actually a very good character for forcing Storm out of the air. Flying heroes get healing much slower than ones on the ground, just as I said with Iron Man, so constantly poking her and forcing her to get healing is high value. You can dash out of Jeff's ult, and Jeff is an amazing amazing target to assassinate provided he's not underground. He's very easy to one-shot with your bread and butter combo. If he goes underground, don't even bother shooting at him, there's no way you kill him. But if he goes underground and you really want to kill him, you can ult him, it hits him while he's underground. This is very useful if he eats your entire team. Just solo ult him and they'll all pop out. Also, that character has hands, so he can hawk Tua and you will just like instantly die. I don't know, he's very scary, so make sure he's not looking at you when you go for the assassination. You can dash out of Doctor Strange ult on reaction, same with Magneto. Rocket Raccoon is a great target because he doesn't really have self-healing. If there's a raccoon on the other team, you should always be looking to make sure that his respawn beacon is broken. You're one of the best heroes for doing that, and the only reason you wouldn't want to break it is if you have something more important to do than stopping a res. I couldn't exactly tell you what that is, but sometimes it does happen. Let's talk about the Psylocke Mirror. This is the final category. Psylocke Mirror is very important because whoever kills the other Psylocke is usually the one that wins the game. It's all about hitting your right click and being the first one to dash in, provided it kills. If you dash in and you don't have another dash and you didn't kill her, she's going to do her combo on you and presumably insta-kill you. So if you dash in and she doesn't die, use your second dash to dash away. She is a really good target to solo ult. You should do your combo to get her below 150 and then ult and one-shot her. If you don't do that, she can just dash out. You must aim at center of mass in order to get mass damage out on her because of her skinny hitbox. You will almost always, and you should be, contesting each other on flanks. Allowing her to get free flanks or off angles is not good unless you think you can do more with your free flank and off angle. Teammates matter a lot in this matchup. If you have a Luna Snow, ask her to permanently guard you. It will give you a huge advantage in the 1v1. You should literally be begging for it, on your hands and knees. Same with Mantis damage boost. When she pops invis, you should pop yours after, even if you don't know where she's going. There's a sound cue for when it happens, and it'll prevent you from dying. It gives you the advantage because you can see her first. So because of this, you should never be the first one to pop invis on engage unless you don't expect her to react invis or you know that she doesn't have it. This mirror is all about searching for a way to catch her off guard and insta-kill combo. She's 250 HP so you can do your bread and butter, but she can do the same thing to you. Pay attention to her cooldowns. If she uses a dash or an invis and you have all of those, then you have the advantage in a fight. The maps in this game are made in a way that you'll almost always be fighting each other in order to gain the flank angles. You also need to be aware of her location at all times. Because of the fact that she can insta-kill you, if you're not aware and she gets the jump on you, you might instantly die. Also, health packs in 1v1s are extremely important. If you're the one who gains the health pack, usually you'll be the one to win the fight. And that's it. I'll be uploading more videos like this to this channel, but if you want to see daily gameplay and lots of Psylocke gameplay, check out Extra Eskay. Have a good day. Bye bye.